Can I say something I just thought of from you saying that? So I've learned a new term that the kids are saying online is about the performative male. And
Yes.
is this poem in the vagueness not being performative? Would not the performative male be reading this poem and
Yes.
drinking the matcha with the labubu and being like, I'm deep, but it's very surface.
Absolutely.
It's surface.
Absolutely.
It's surface posturing and being performative of like, but I said the word war and I said the word money
Absolutely.
and I said the word protest.
Absolutely. Hey, you two.
I'm LB
I'm Kaiya.
and we're about to check our DMs. Let's check them.
My presentation today is called The Case for Zipping It.
Oh.
And what I want to argue is that as a online set of people, we should be writing our poems for ourselves, but not the timeline. Taking hot takes to friends, not the timeline. And printing memes for our archives, but not the timeline. And this is because there's no way to take US imperialism seriously if it continues to be memed. And this is coming from me, a former aspiring meme scholar.
Wow.
That was my former aspiring joke career path, joke real career path. And I do strongly believe in the power and idea of discourse and memes, which is why I want to talk about it today.
I mean, historically, I made the joke back in 2013. It's a bad joke, but I joked that I was a memeologist, so I feel like it's similar joke.
What's a memologist?
I was just joking like I could teach about memes. I study memes.
So a meme scholar as well.
Yes, I just am not actually an academic to know the correct terms. So I just said I was a memeologist.
Well, in 2013, you were also a child. So.
I was actually just turned 18, so I was an adult.
I'm so sorry.
Correction,
I'm so sorry.
That's actually like not actually correct. So
Okay.
we're gonna have to redact that. Editor, me.
Well, to get this started, I want to show you a video.
If there's one thing that I want you to take into the coming years that I'm dead serious about, I am dead serious about, from somebody who's a professional communicator, I need you all to stop memifying Republicans. And let me take that back. I need you to stop memifying politics. Please, stop doing it. I am so serious. This is not a joke. I truly mean this. Memifying politics to see like one side dunk on the other and another side dunk on the other does not actually deepen any sort of understanding. It makes politics into entertainment.
Yeah.
And politics are not entertainment. And especially in the years that we're going to see, you do not want levity attached to a lot of the things that are going to be discussed on the political scale, on the national scale, on the international scale. And I mean it. We are in a literacy crisis, emphasized by the fact that all the time that the people on this app were asking me to talk about media literacy, what they really meant was reading comprehension. What a cell phone. But beyond that, I am so dead serious. Stop memifying politics. Actually discuss them, break them down wherever you can. Give context. If we are to survive in the next few years, yes, have fun, yes, have joy, but do not attach that to politics. Do not make politics entertainment. Please.
So sorry. Crazy how Twitter does that. So when that video was going around, she had to clarify like several times because it riled some people up and they were like, but what about this? But what about this? But what about this? But I think like the really important takeaway point for me, and like I think the takeaway point that she kept reiterating is like she's talking about the like back and forth like dunking like gotcha like jokes.
Yeah.
She's not talking about like
calling people out or something.
Well, and she's not talking about like, nuanced like critique. She's not talking about like educational like graphics and things like that. Like she's talking about like haha dunks being spread around
Yeah.
like really quickly. We can always like unpack or like spiral words into whatever we want them to mean, and say like, well, what about if I like want to be saying that like this politician is stupid and actually that is my activism. But what I really appreciate about her point there is like that's entertainment, like, and there is a consequence, like real lived consequences that come with continuing to treat political actors as entertaining characters on a stage instead of people that are making decisions that worsen the lives of everyone around us.
Yeah, it's like in a way it feels like diluting it or something, like, or distancing it from being like a real thing.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that being said, I pulled some tweets. And these tweets honestly were pulled much earlier in the summer, but unfortunately, US imperialism is evergreen. So these points remain. So this tweet by Bree Newsome says, that's 3 question marks. I'm confused by people thinking any presidential election outcome of the past 25 years would have prevented the current state of affairs. The administrations change, but not the agenda, which is set by billionaire capitalists and multinational corporations.
T.
And again, if we like make these, administrations or people within them into like Marvel characters instead of identifying the real factors at play, it does become yet another movie, yet another thing to clock in and out of.
I mean, Marvel, which definitely is like basically a different department of the government. I was going to say they're more just like influencers now. That's why they're clapping back and this and that. It's just like they're just like influencers.
Definitely they play into it too, but I think that what my focus is today, and I think like what the video is about, is kind of like how as an audience, people online like create narratives and like create really unnuanced memes about like US crimes, like war, just because they don't, like you said, it's diluted.
Yeah.
It is like a character. It is like a play pretend.
Okay, no, I see what you're saying, which I won't mention, but it's reminding me of a certain film I worked on one time.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean? Oh, I guess I shouldn't say that because I can't talk about it. Never mind. But like, I think now that you're saying Marvel and this and that, I think I get what you're saying now, where it's, I just had a thought. It's almost distancing domestic issues like we do foreign.
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So another tweet I pulled, Mrs. Windup Bird. If liberals saw the Palestinians in Gaza, the ones who are being starved, shot, and burned in real time every day, as whole human subjects, then the idea of getting up on a pedestal to, quote, give your take on the genocide to reify your supposed level of nuance would be unthinkable. And that's like exactly what you're saying, where it is this distancing act. Like,
yes.
Not thinking of people that are real people going through real things.
They're like figures on a chessboard.
Absolutely.
They're metaphors.
Yeah. And this happens all the time. And the excuse over and over, like Imani was saying in the video, is like, well, I need to be joyful. Like, things are so bad. I need to have a joke. And it's like, joke at
whose
expense. Exactly. Like, there's jokes and then there's cheap shots.
Mama, let's punch up with our jokes. And if you think your joke is punching neutral, it's probably not.
No such thing as a neutral joke.
You have to be punching up or down. If you don't know which way it's punching, anywho, go on.
So before I go on to weaponize my MFA, I do want to acknowledge that I'm very online. You're very online. This is a very online podcast. And that's like for a reason. Not just because of growing up as online people, but also in this like contemporary day and age, there are so many reasons to stay inside now. And I understand that social spaces are hostile to many, many people. And so this is not a take about the internet is bad and internet discourse only is bad because being on the internet is unreasonable. It's actually reasonable, in my opinion, to be inside. And like, here's some of the things I thought about when I thought about this, to think about like why people may not be, going out into social space in the same way in 2025. Unmitigated airborne viruses.
Measles.
Yeah.
Corona. Sorry, I just want to do that.
Oh, I appreciate it. Climate collapse, state and police surveillance and murder, disintegrating social fabric, ableist architecture, microaggressions and anti-blackness, transphobia / inability to use bathrooms and risk in public spaces. So I just like want to be clear that I think it's important that we take the internet seriously, even as we critique it, because there's very real reasons why the internet is so many people's social outlet and social space, and the space upon which they do their discourse, they have their conversations, they get their information. Like, as much as, I appreciate the like think pieces and like mourning of third spaces and cafes, and I'm not saying that there aren't, spots that are doing, real work to try to like foster connection in meaningful ways, but also there are very reasonable material things that keep people inside and keep their social connection online. And I do want to say, like, this isn't like a let's dunk on online people take. And for me, like, disability, queerness, and transness have all shaped me into being very online. And I suspect that you have a similar story sitting here with me on our Check Your DMs podcast.
Of being very online.
Yes.
I mean, yes, as viewers at home might not know my lore and tale, but I come from Ohio, specifically Dayton, Ohio. And yeah, no, growing up though, the internet was sort of my first introduction to like, oh, like I'm allowed to be like gay and shit, and it's like okay, because I didn't exist in real life at all until I was like literally an adult. And so that's why it's so like awful how there's so many like anti-LGBT things for kids, because it's just like, do you not think there are kids? Like, it's like you guys acknowledge there are adults, but do you not think those adults were at one point a child? Like, it's crazy, because it's just like the internet like really saved me as like a space in general. And if I didn't have that, I don't even know how fucked up I'd be.
Yeah, I mean, look, you would not even believe how many educators I have interacted with who genuinely believe they have never taught like a queer child.
I mean, people think there's never been a queer president.
That's crazy.
It's just like, statistically speaking, that just never is going to make sense as a never.
It's not.
No.
I get frustrated with conversations about online discourse that don't take that discourse seriously, because they're like just go outside and touch grass without thinking about all the reasons that people may not be outside touching grass. Not even to say, like, is that grass like the native grass of the land, or is it like the lawn of a golf course, you know?
Colonizer grass.
And so
That's so funny. Go outside and touch the plants that was put here that are not natural and are ruining the ecosystem.
exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Got him.
But what I do want to talk about,
Predicting a meme? Is this what's happening?
yeah, is like, even as we take the internet seriously, I still very much agree with Imani Barbarin's point from that video I showed you earlier, that like part of taking the internet and internet discourse seriously is being real about what is being shared and sharing good information and holding people to a standard of interesting, nuanced critique, even if it's not in person. And so I am predicting a meme, and I want to stop it in advance.
Oh, shit.
And my meme that I'm predicting is that I predict that the poem "We Lived Happily During the War" by poet Ilya Kaminsky.
The same year I was a memeologist. I declared it.
So true. By poet Ilya Kaminsky is going to go viral online again. So some background. The last time this poem went viral was not too long ago in 2022 when Russia invaded Ukraine. And that's probably at least partially because Kaminsky is Ukrainian and lived in Ukraine until he was 16. He now lives in the US. And when I say it went viral, I like really mean it. Like, CNN interviewed Kaminsky about this poem in March 2022. And in that interview, he said, "In a poem, one hopes to create an experience in the reader. In this case, the hope of the poem is to help the reader see their own complicity." And another, like, you know, interesting thing I found about this poem when I was doing some pre-show research is that it also was entered into the Library of Congress. So not only was Kaminsky interviewed on, you know, mainstream broadcast like news about this poem, but also it has been entered into like the government database of like good poetry. And then I also found this additional use as a source text for one of 4 lesson plans associated with Kent State's May 2023 Armed with Our Voices exhibition. Do you know anything about the Kent State massacre?
I don't.
So it was a massacre at Kent State in Ohio. And it was actually, you know, an incident that is very relevant to today because once again, U.S. imperialism is evergreen. What happened was during a school demonstration against the Vietnam War, the National Guard came onto the campus and shot and killed 4 students.
Wait.
And then 9 other students were injured as well.
Wait, during what? During like a protest?
Yeah.
So they were protesting against the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
And the National Guard killed 4 students.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. And there's actually like a really
That's
famous
scary.
protest song about it that I find moving, and I think that I suspect that you would be like, that's old-timey white people music.
Oh, well, that just put a picture in my head for that one.
But it's called Ohio by
Who?
it's it was written by Neil Young.
I don't know.
And it's by Crosby, Stills, Young and Nash. But it was written very quickly after this shooting, because it was, actually like a almost viral moment itself. So anyway,
Yeah.
I found that Kent State in 2023, after the last time this poem went viral, chose to use it as one of 4 poems they selected for lesson plans. And from the exhibition, this is what they say: the 1970 Kent State shooting tragedy revealed the grave consequences that result when communication collapses. The Wick Poetry Center, with its partners, has developed an interactive exhibit encouraging visitors to explore the history of student protests and the timely themes of peace and conflict transformation. I just thought it was like an interesting framing to frame the National Guard murdering 4 students as a communication collapse. And it's interesting that, 2 years ago, we're thinking about this as something that we should engage with as, part of peace and conflict transformation. And I think it is something to think about as we read this poem, that this was something they thought would be useful during this exhibit.
Wait, what is when communication collapses?
That's the language that
They use.
they use
I was
to
like, what does that
describe
mean?
the incident.
Okay. Of murder?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not my language. It's the language they used.
Hate it when communication collapses. It's
exactly.
Okay.
And from the lesson plan, it says, where were you / are you during the war? Did you live happily or are you living happily? So I also just wanted to keep that in mind, just all these little pieces in mind as ways that this poem has been found to be used. Just thinking about it, like this poem that Kaminsky is describing as like a poem that can help someone see their own complicity, but, which is also a poem that CNN feels good about, that, the Library of...
The state-run media?
Yeah, the National Congress feels good about, and that Kent State feels like is really a good poem to think about peace and conflict transformation. I just want to think about all those little bits as we read this poem.
Okay.
So I do have like one more thing to tell you, which is while I was preparing for this segment, I found something.
Okay. Oh, go on. I'm listening.
I found a copy
A book.
of the book this poem is from. This is the book Deaf Republic from Ilya Kaminsky. But what's kind of a gag is I found this in my bookcase. I wasn't even looking for this book because I didn't know I had it, but it actually was a review copy sent to me. So at some point, Kaminsky's publishers sent me a book, hoping that I would review it. And I did not previously. And so this is my review of the poem "We Lived Happily During the War" from
They've been waiting.
Deaf Republic by Ilya Kaminsky. Thank you for the review copy of the book.
Thank you.
So we can also read it on here if you'd rather. And it is the poem that opens the book.
Of course.
So if you would be down to read it aloud, I'd appreciate that.
I'd be down.
All right.
Wow, it's physical in my hands. Okay. We lived happily during the war. And when they bombed other people's houses, We protested, but not enough. We opposed them, but not enough. I was in my bed. Around my bed, America was falling. Invisible house by invisible house by invisible house. I took a chair outside and watched the sun. In the 6th month of a disastrous reign in the house of money, in the street of money, in the city of money, in the country of money, our great country of money, we forgive us. Lived happily during the war. I feel like I have to read that again.
All right.
No, just read. And when they bombed other people's house, we burned us. Okay, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for reading that. Any first impressions?
I mean, the only thing that really sticks out was the money, 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 money. Because it's also like the house of money, the street of money. It's like, okay, what suburbs? Like, where are you living? Because the idea that all of America is Money Street.
Yeah, that is an
I mean, you
interesting
kind of
point.
like self-report on that one. Like,
Self-report
do you feel
is an
guilty?
interesting phrase. I would say that is like, a major theme of this poem.
Yeah, I mean, it just feels like a vague idea of America and these ideas of like, oh, war. And it's just like, and I'm sitting watching the 4th of July fireworks on the Money Street, eating a hot dog while children are dying or something.
Well, it's interesting that you say it's vague because if you recall, the lesson plan that Kent State's Poetry Center came up with asked a question that just said, where were you during, or like, did you live happily during the war?
Yeah.
Which doesn't specify.
Because there's always a war.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like, this is evergreen and vague because they're just like, well, it could apply to anything because we're always at war. And we need war to have Money Street and Money House and Money Country.
Yes. And I would now like to do a deeper dive into the poem, if that's okay with you. I've prepared something.
But I do have to say one comment again,
Yes,
which
please.
is that I hate the money line, and it sounds like the hit song of Blue Dabble Dee Dabble Da, where they're like, I'm in a blue house with my blue girlfriend and my blue Corvette, and everything is blue. It kind of sounds like that. But
An interesting
money.
comparison.
But I mean, that was a hit, bigger than CNN.
So true. I want to kind of dive into some of the issues that I have with this poem and why they happen in the poem specifically. So we're going to go kind of line by line with some of the things that I see that I think are not so successful if Kaminsky's goal is, as he said, to make the reader realize their own complicity in this war. So the first is the naming, as we've kind of discussed. The war, what war, right? Going back to the video I showed of Imani Barbarin, what is the context? What is the specificity?
Exactly. And it's saying nothing.
Exactly. If you're not saying something specific, you are ultimately working on behalf of the people that benefit from you saying nothing.
T.
Regardless of intention, if you are not being specific in your critique, that critique is a miss.
Right. It's like, what are you afraid of?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you not actually saying a specific?
Mm-hmm. Except for if, as you say, this is a critique of all war. But if that's the case, I think that it needs to be a much stronger critique of why we live happily during all wars and what causes all wars.
That might be interesting and might not get on CNN.
Exactly. Again, contextualizing this poem in, the idea that people feel complicit as reading is contrasted by how many people have happily accepted it, including places like CNN and the Library of Congress. I have a hard time believing that so many people really see complicity in everlasting war if it's also a poem that Congress approves of.
That's so funny. It's like the people who do the war are like, we like this one.
Yeah. In the next line, and when they bombed other people's houses, we protested. The setup of the poem, we versus they. We lived, they bombed, we protested. It's similar to like what you were saying, this assumption of, America being money. Saying like, well, where is this speaker? Are they just like in the suburbs? Are they rich? It is telling that this speaker is speaking from a point of view of we versus they. Can't even imagine the feeling of like being bombed, right?
The feeling of being on the other end of the hammer of like the U.S. imperialism.
Exactly. And so again, if the point is to feel complicity in the hammer of US imperialism, then I think that there has to be a much stronger connection if that speaker is not going to feel the end of the hammer, then it needs to be clear that they are wielding the hammer.
Oop.
And I don't feel that it is clear in this poem that not everyone that lives, in this world is necessarily the ones wielding the hammer.
I mean,
as you say, this expectation that the money world that the speaker lives in is the world of America is pretty
telling.
Yeah.
It's a self-report because it's just like, okay, I guess you've never lived in a poor area.
Exactly.
To be like, it's all money street. It's just kind of like, I'm pretty sure there's several streets that are not. Like,
LOL. So this next part really irks me. So we get to the protesting, right? So we have this speaker who is with the other we's in the poem, and they do protest, but not enough. And so there's this setup in the poem that the speaker, who again is depicted to not be at the end of the violence of U.S. imperialism, but is not the one doing the U.S. imperialism within the imagery of the poem. The expectations of the world that they should be doing good is never enough. They protest, but it's not enough. They oppose them, but it's not enough. What can they do that's enough? When in reality, there are many things that the speaker may be doing that, Kaminsky may be naming in this poem. But naming is not a feature of this poem. Specificity is not a feature of this poem. It's not a strength of this poem. And I think a failure of this poem is the evergreen critique without the teeth of an actual specific context and specific actionable direction of who is committing violence and how and against whom.
Sorry, it just is interesting, why is this author so scared to, dive into that?
It's a good question. I mean, clearly he's benefited.
Yeah, and it seems like he can't handle, actually sitting with that. And as he said so well, watch the sun.
We're going to get to that one. We're going to get to that one right now. So this line in the middle, I took a chair outside and watched the sun. This beauty break in the center of the poem.
Beauty break.
That's a term I made up. That's not like a real poetry term. That's just something I made up, but I feel like it sounds accurate. But this is something that I've noticed in other writing as well. So which is the poem speaker, this is a phrase I've kind of been throwing around, but the poem speaker is like the closest thing to like a humanized specific subject and like stand in for the reader. So it gets to take a break to watch the sun, you know?
Yeah.
And this is something I've noticed before. It's like evil, 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 beautiful bird. Like as though that does something to alleviate the evil.
To like take a beat.
Yes.
It's like, that was really hard for you, so let's think about the sunshine.
Exactly. And it's like, but what was hard?
Because you didn't even name it.
Exactly.
Name them.
And and if it is hard, I'm sorry, but a tolerance needs to be built up because that's not that hard.
It probably wasn't. It probably was hard because you're living on Money Street in Money City and whatever the fuck it is. It's just like, yeah. It's just like, and you're drinking money water and you've never had to see anything that wasn't money. And so you're just like, you know what? I'm going to need a minute to look at the sun because I am only comfortable in my money bubble, bitch. What the fuck?
So if you notice in the way that this poem is written, the form of the poem, this line is emphasized. It's in the center of the poem, right? Like basically in the middle, and it's a single line. There's single lines at the beginning and end of the poem, and then there's single lines, two of them in the middle of the poem, and this is the second of the two. So this is an emphasis.
Okay.
And this is what I would call in this poem a turn of the poem.
Okay.
So that's a phrase used in poetry to like describe where the poem like changes or surprises.
It's like a new act.
Exactly. It's the second act of the poem.
Okay.
And so this is where the experience, as Kaminsky describes it, of the poem takes a new direction. And I think it's telling again that turn is a turn towards beauty instead of, you know, being a deepening into an understanding of this kind of war being described. It is a turn towards the sun and a break to look at the sun. But why does the reader need a break at this point? Like you said, it's like what have we read so far that leads us to need a break at this point?
Well, we protested.
But not enough.
No. When has it ever been enough?
And now the line that you keep mentioning, a disastrous reign in the house of money. This line just like really like reeks to me of like, this isn't our country. Like, you know, like this is like not like what we're about. When in reality, money is in the very foundation of the U.S., which of course was built on slavery and genocide. And so there is no way to like get out of capital within the U.S.
But that person would have been living in a nice money house during that time.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Oh my God, sorry. I'm just like, they're like, the beautiful plantation. It's so beautiful and gorgeous. I look at the sun. Anyways, isn't it nice to be here? Some things are bad, kind of, but like, it's beautiful.
Yeah, but this type of poem is like very, I mean, if you start noticing it, like you'll see it quite often. Like it will be like, human suffering, but what can I do about it? And here's a beautiful nature object.
Oh my God. It's low-key like, well, no ethical consuming over capitalism.
Exactly.
Ain't the tree pretty though?
And like we were saying, okay, I mean, I think that's an inside thought, first of all. Like, I'm not saying that you can't like have a nice time sitting outside, but like, do you really need to publish that?
It just makes me think, sorry, I don't know if I interrupted,
No, it's okay.
but just like you were saying, like, why is there no specifics in the beginning part of like there's no like actually naming specific things you could be doing? And then I'm just connecting, like, we jump to money street, money house, money, 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 and it's like, I don't know, you could try to hurt the money by boycotting,
Yeah.
but like you're focusing on the money, but like, why are you not, like, is that not the obvious other protest for money that is like effective and has been like a thing for a long time?
Yes. I think that my problem with the reason why I think that this poem and poems like this are not successful, and the reason why I think they are then spread so virally and memed and accepted in so many places, including the government, is because a specific thing like a boycott, a specific action, a specific date is not described. And what is favored is vagueness and beauty. And, you know, I don't think that a good poem needs to be vague and beautiful. I actually think specificity and dating a poem can be quite interesting and powerful. And if you are just vague, I don't think that it is going to be a poem that then leads people to understand that they are complicit in the act of US war. Like, it will just then be a beauty break.
And can I say something I just thought of from you saying that? So I've learned a new term that the kids are saying online is about the performative male.
Yes.
And is this poem in the vagueness not being performative? Would not the performative male be reading this poem and drinking the matcha with the labubu and being like, I'm deep, but it's very surface.
Absolutely.
It's surface.
Absolutely.
It's surface posturing and being performative of like, but I said the word war and I said the word money
Absolutely.
and I said the word protest.
Absolutely. You nailed it. It's surface, but it's posturing as deeper than that.
It's performative.
Male. Let's not
Okay, no, I
say
know.
perform.
Okay, no.
You're using that word. We're not going to get started on the way that people use performative wrong. All my Butler girlies out there know what I'm talking about. Judith Butler.
Oh, I thought you were just saying like literal Butler girls. And I was like, I didn't know that was your community, but go off.
No, I'm talking about the way that people use performative.
Okay. Yeah, that's another episode. You'll have to subscribe. You'll have to subscribe if you want to hear that one.
So when we get to the end of the poem, this is where it gets, in my opinion, really unforgivable. I guess that's a pun, unfortunately. Is this moment where the speaker asks for forgiveness. I mean, I find that disturbing.
If anything, that's a reflection of like, is this like a guilt poem?
Yeah. And then why is it being shared so often?
White guilt, the poem. American imperialism, white guilt, the poem. But this person's like from Ukraine and moved here. I mean, it's still white guilt poem.
I mean, and also, once again, we're talking about the ways that this poem, I think, is unsuccessful. I don't know Kaminsky as a person.
Yeah, we're just parasocially investigating.
Well, I'm seeing the ways that I feel this poem is unsuccessful.
Yeah.
And like the reasons why people would then invest in it, which I do agree is because they feel their guilt mirrored in the poem.
Oh. Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I have no idea how Kaminsky feels personally.
Yeah.
But this poem, I do think, very much brings forth those feelings of like asking for forgiveness, though, like, you know, self-flagellating about a war that could be, you know, boycotted, could be pushed against, could be, as I think it's Rasha Abdul Hadi, the poet, says, like throwing sand in the gears of the machine of the US imperialism. People actually can do things in their daily life to like stop things. And sharing this poem is not one of those things. Sharing this poem actually is an act, like you are saying, of pretending to be deep because you are saying things like war and money, but you're not actually like putting your money where your mouth is when sharing this poem. It's a reason that you don't have to.
It's the click share. That's all the activism for this year.
But it's not enough. But it is for that person. So one last route out of complicity and ask for forgiveness. Who is being asked to forgive and whom? Ultimately, is there any change between the first and last repetition of we lived happily during the war? My feeling is that there is not. And remember, in the interview, Kaminsky said that his goal for the poem was that the reader would feel their complicity by the end of the poem. I don't feel that that happens. I think that there is no change in the speaker and there is no change in the reader, but it makes readers feel good. And that's why it's a poem that is memed around times of war. And that's why I'd like to stop it in advance. No means no about we lived happily during the war. If you are living happily or forgiving yourself, you either are not confronting the reality of white supremacy, US imperialism, and war, head buried in the sand, focused on individual and or familial survival, or have truly bought into individualism to the point that you have lost the empathy in your soul. This is like many people. I'm not sure if this is our viewers, but if you wanted to know how the Holocaust happened in Nazi Germany as a hypothetical, it is reflected in these realities. Lack of care for people murdered by US weapons internationally. Lack of care for people murdered by US weapons across the nation.
Like with domestically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lack of care for neighbors murdered via neglect or directly, via like sweeping, etc.
Yeah.
Not feeling like wearing a mask or otherwise mitigating viral infection. That's eugenics. Sorry. Not feeling like changing behavior for a boycott or a strike. I just don't want to.
It's just like, it doesn't really do anything. And it's just like, yes, it's actually like, there's so much proof that the Target CEO just dropped.
People just don't want to.
I know. It's just an excuse to be like, it's fine because it doesn't actually do anything right. I'm from Money Street. It's just like, shut up.
I don't mean that you should live in guilt, but I mean like the guilt is besides the point. It's besides the point. But the virality of poems like this make it clear that for many online, the guilt is the point. Showing the guilt and being like, it's okay though, is the point.
It's like, I guess if you need that to sleep at night.
Many do.
Many such cases. Sorry.
I was gonna say it.
Sorry. Delete that, editor. Me. I'm gonna have to delete that.
If you are living happily, you aren't in the majority.
Got him. Sorry.
So this is a tweet exchange from one of the general global strikes for Palestine that happened in 2023. And this Twitter user says, "Are you calling out of work tomorrow, December 11th, for the global strike for Palestine?" And then retweets saying this poll is becoming about unemployment. You guys, what's going on? And then the poet that I mentioned earlier replies, "We are not living happily during the war." So just saying, I'm not the only one that's
like
thinking about this poem in recent years.
Yeah, it seems like the poem community,
the poet,
they are on that one. Yeah. They're always listening.
All right.
Let's just say they're all weaponizing their MFA.
Not all of them.
Okay, well, some. Anyways, I don't know. I'm just here.
All right. So I'm not saying don't share things. I'm kind of saying the opposite. I'm saying share things that you're thinking about with your thoughts. I'm big into sharing. Also reading. I'm big into reading books.
Or listening.
Or listening to them, yes. Imani Barbarin, back to the video. Memes decontextualize political moments from the surrounding environment, time frame, and history. Again, we go back to the poem. Where was the environment, time frame, or history of the war?
I mean, it just reminds me of how, like, when a tragedy happens, people are always like, oh, you can't joke about that. Because, like, they'll be like, you can't joke about that right now. And it is because joking about something does, like, it makes it less of a real thing.
Yes.
And I love jokes, mind you.
Yes.
But, yeah. Anywho, carry on.
Or, as I like to say, mostly in my comments to students, if you've ever been my student, you've gotten this note like a million times.
If you've ever been Kaiya's student, get out of here. What are you
Literally,
doing
get out
watching
of
this?
here.
Get the X out the window now and close the laptop.
Okay, please be specific. Be so specific. I'm not saying the state can't decontextualize your words by changing them. Obviously.
They can.
I'm not saying AI can't be fed your words and turn them towards a military contract and then murder someone.
Open AI.
I'm talking about...
Let's open the case. Anyway, sorry.
Let's open AI the case.
I've done too many interviews where I've been accused of like...
Oh, I'm not accusing you at all. I'm just saying his mother says that. I don't think a fair read of the evidence suggests suicide at all. Also don't understand why the authorities, when there's signs of a struggle and blood in 2 rooms on a suicide, like how does that actually happen? I don't understand how the authorities could just dismiss that as a suicide.
You understand how this sounds like an accusation.
I'm talking about someone sharing what you said directly. And what you said, focusing on the humor and or pleasure of words at the expense of feeling the weight of violence. So like being like, I just want to talk about the pretty thing. I'm going to say the like vague pretty thing and pretend that it is deep because it sounds like sounds I like, but it is not specific or rooted in anything. Be specific, like let language mourn, like be specific and let language mourn. All right, so I'm gonna end this by saying like, obviously poems don't have to be perfect.
Nobody's perfect.
Oh.
I was just going to just do one beat.
Okay. And healthy critique of art is a good thing. Healthy critique of work, of poems, of essays, of paintings, of videos is a good thing. But I'm cautious of poems that go viral amongst the US public because they provide psychic release from US crimes. So like when you see a poem that's going viral, think about, what is it that you like about the poem you're sharing?
I was just thinking like something, but it's like it's not a full thought, but of like this person's from Ukraine and how, there's a bunch of different wars, but there's certain wars that our government is like, this one's the victim. And how that it aligns with their already messaging, and that's why they like it and stuff.
Yeah, there's definitely something there.
Because like if a Palestinian wrote something, they wouldn't.
Yeah. I'm about to share a poem.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry.
No, you can keep.
But yeah, I'm just like, was also thinking of like where this person's from and why the US government would be elevating this perspective.
Yes. That's a good point. That's another thing to think about when you're seeing viral poems. Like, why are they going viral? Who allowed it? Like why is it, not being suppressed? Why is it being entered into the Library of Congress?
CNN.
Why is it being featured on CNN? Why is it being featured as like about peace and conflict resolution?
And why are they asking you to review it?
Because I did like one poetry review before I got too tired. So if you see a viral poem, think about, why does it resonate with you? Does it make you feel good? Why? Are you doing your self-soothing in public?
Yikes. Just kidding.
Thanks to my friend Annabelle for that wording.
Self-soothing in public.
Yeah, she was saying how the like US population is like really into doing like self-soothing in public. Like being like, I'm not guilty, like I'm fine. Like we were talking about online.
Because they need reassurance from other people.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
Yes.
people post about stuff like that all the time. Well, they'll say something out loud when you can tell they're looking for reassurance.
Absolutely. So if you see a poem that's going viral and you're about to repost it, think about, is this a poem that's reassuring people that it's okay for the US to be doing war crimes?
I'll have to think about that next time I see a poem that goes viral.
Okay, so I was going to close by just sharing one poem that's not, a poem that I think is celebrating US war crimes. I don't think that poem is celebrating US war crimes, but I don't think it's successful in not doing that.
Yeah, it's just sort of like, meh. It's like, they happen. We tried it.
Yeah. So the poem that I was gonna share to close is by a poet named George Abraham. And I wanted to share this one because I actually taught their book a couple years ago. It's called Birthright. It's good. They're a Palestinian American poet, and they also were one of the co-editors of a recent book of poetry by Palestinian poets, which we can link in the description box of purchasing that book. And I believe that you can purchase that book in a way that benefits the Samir Project. We can look and find that link. So I was going to share that poem as like I still do, like poems and do think that they are, interesting and thought-provoking to read. But unfortunately, the ones that are shared by thousands or millions of people are usually not the most interesting and thought-provoking to read.
Oh no. ASMR.
All right. So this one is called On the Eve of Yet Another Nagpa, A Dream by George Abraham.
On September 11th.
Yeah. When they posted that on Instagram, they were like, LOL. They didn't no. It wasn't like they like requested it or something. They were like, LOL.
That's funny.
Do you want to read it? It's kind of long.
Okay.
We can switch off if you want.
Okay, sure, I would love to switch.
Okay. You gotta press to go to the
I
first
know.
one. Okay.
Well, how many pages do I just read the first page? Is
Sure.
that how it goes?
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't know how long it is.
Okay. I'll read the like dedication line, which is from a Dennis Smith poem. At the end of the world, let there be you, my world.
Of abandoning this shithole called American life and teleporting to the largest Philistine potluck imaginable. No shelling, no blockades or walls, no post 9/11 era terrors of surveillance, no wildfire. No wildfire lies to feed the American public, no America to need feeding. Everyone will eat here and have their fill. What is that?
Titas.
The Titas will find more pans, flip pot after pot of Makluba, taking 4, no 6 hands to pull off this small collectivism of rice, its rise and steam and laugh against a world turned already upside down. We'll abandon the doom scroll and feed instead the masses of us as our beloveds return only to be put to this work of miraculous care. Yes, even in dreaming, this world requires the work of everybody. And what better way to say I love you than to pluck the mint or rinse the rice? Yalla, we have bellies to fill. There's Fargo and Rasha waiting gateless for my arrival, while Nor in summer and all of Nors and summers and all our Sarahs and Sarahs are here already, hard at work and gossiping, fingers stained with Cheeto dust, and
Labna.
Labna while Radna and Hala smoke. What's that?
Argila.
Argila on an endless porch with all our aunties. I'm sorry, but Cheeto dust is called Cheetle. Next.
While Naomi reads to a crowd of children, living, yes, so alive in their wide-eyed listening. While in kitchens, elders are peering over shoulders, passing on the muscle memory of that which once was country. Oh, to be freed from such names and boundings. And the house fills and fills. Did I mention we were housed? The songs fill the air. As we pull off the miracle of the largest Philistine potluck imaginable, oh, how the imagination grows. After cousins known, after cousins unknown, after even our dead begin to come back to us, after the magic of seeing the beloveds we've only known from stories or poems about resisting, after we confront the whole of us we have yet to even imagine, we enlargen the table, make room for our cousins from Lebanon, our Iraqi and Armenian cousins without need for words like genocide, our Yemeni cousins not having to say I'll die for you, our black cousins who taught us to burn the precincts, break prisons, in and beyond our minds, our Vietnamese cousins who know American shrapnel like muscle memory, everyone who, in their coalitions, made living room for our infinite, all the people who loved us without explanation, our Jewish cousins who, with their bodies, resisted with us, our indigenous cousins who fought alongside us despite the terrors that led us into their lands, every organizer from Ferguson to Minneapolis, from South Africa to Sudan who said,
We remember the Palestinians today and every day through every Nakba, every poet exiled and disposed from living. Welcome to the largest potluck imaginable. Look what we built from the rubble of their imagination. They who could not fathom this weight of us. We abandoned their failed future, failed progress, failed names for human. We who know the cost of living time in our bodies, we who know no elsewhere but today. We naive enough to write poems imagining the impossible, we who love ourselves enough for such tenderness. However brief, we know the work is coming and here already. We know the conditional tense of every dream will have an end. How silly of me to dream utopia disentangled from borders. We need better names than heaven, than leaving the world we knew, for a poem we cannot leave. I'm trying to have faith in unknowing, to trust in the becoming of us, unbounded, unboundable, as if the necessary severance was not of wall or flaming sword, but a question reflected back to the body. O you who cannot bear this weight of us. O you who cannot love us completely. O you who cannot love even your own selves. We know you. We know your gaze, your bitter witness. We die it every day and tunnel into elsewheres beyond your wildest dreams. To you I say another world is possible, for it is here already. Abandon yourself, abandon every Eden tended at our own expense. The table is set, the fruit beyond knowing is ripe and begging to be plucked. We are already mid-fall and reaching for life in every act of choosing, and choosing life in every act of reaching.
and the return is here and here and here and already and.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. And if you like that, you can subscribe to our Patreon. Yes, thank you for presenting that amazing case of zipping it.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for weaponizing that MFA.
Thank you. And again, in the description, I'll post a link to the book that George Abraham co-edited. I believe it's called Heaven Looks Like Us, and it's a recent anthology of Palestinian poetry. Yeah, and we can post a couple of different links of how to buy it.
I just felt reading that one that the author of that certainly isn't only from Money Street and Money City and Money Country.
Absolutely. And I decided to pick that poem because, you know, in contrast to some of the vagueness that we were talking about with the first one, there's a lot of very specific
A lot.
place and detail and even names. And I think this idea that we can't name our friends in poems, we can't name, you know, specific movements and places
Yeah.
to say, you know, like Ferguson in a
Burning
poem,
this precinct.
burning the precinct, that actually means a very, you know, specific image. And the idea that like that isn't timeless, I think, is only specific to a canon that like, you know, helps the state,
Exactly.
helps suppress things that, you know, aren't meant to be timeless.
And I think you could argue that a lot of these things named are unfortunately timeless because they're still fighting the same thing.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And so I think George Abraham's poems are great. And their book Birthright's great too. I should have brought my copy of it into the room so that I could show that one too. My students really enjoyed it when we read it. And I can like share a link to find that one too, and share a link to George Abraham's work. But yeah, queer Palestinian poet. And I love like the food and the sharing of that poem too. I think is like really there's something just like very
It feels like more personal and
yes,
stuff.
absolutely.
And yeah, that other one felt like generic. I mean, like I didn't learn nothing about that person except that they're probably rich.
But as you mentioned, I would be very surprised if that poem, you know, went viral online.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of reasons for that. You know, it's long, it says a lot. But I think that that's cool.
Yeah.
And I think that it's cool to be able to talk about that. And I don't think that it's bad to talk about that online. I think that online is actually a space that people are being understandably pushed to and will continue to be pushed to as, you know, the conditions of the world continue to worsen.
I mean, hey, there's a reason why suddenly like the whole Western governments and all the countries are trying to fucking put a halt to the internet being like a free space.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah. But I think that if you see, you know, art being shared online, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's good. And I think that seeing things with the idea that it's always something that you can think about is important. I hope that people online, my dream is for people to feel that they have the like agency and intelligence to think about things before you know, acting on impulsive sharing. I guess I sound kind of like that annoying like Instagram pop-up that's like, did you read the article? But like what I actually mean is like, you know, reflecting like, why do I like this? And do I actually like it? And like, why is this viral? Like, is it viral because it's something that I resonate with or that like I, you know, align with politically, or is this actually in contrast to my beliefs, and is it actually in contrast to, you know, the way that I live and the people around me live? And most of the time, art that is co-signed by the state is just really not going to describe things that are understandable and relatable to people that are targeted by the state.
Yeah. I hear that. Thank you for tuning in.
Thanks for listening.
All right. Bye.
Bye.